Namaskar, and I'm so happy to see you today, all so bright and ready to learn. Today we will discuss about the teaching methods, methodologies and pedagogy in Bharatanatyam, the special relating to the Bani-s of Bharatanatyam and some of the prime institutions of teaching and learning of Bharatanatyam. As you know, the antiquity of the study of fine arts in India dates back several hundred centuries. There are many literatures available that throws light on the well-developed art forms in India. Music and dance are no exceptions. The Natya Shastra dates back to 2nd century BC. This fact proves that much before Natya Shastra was written, the art of music and dance was very well developed to the state of fine arts. This is possible only with a defined methodology and a good pedagogy. Fine arts in India are always learnt in a Gurukulam with a strong bondage of Guru and Sishya. The Gurukula system is well proven and practiced for several centuries in India. This system has undergone changes in last century. Now, what was its mythological origin? The classical dance from Bharatanatyam has a mythological origin which talks about the teaching of this art. Brahma created the 5th Veda, the Natya Veda, a quintessence of the main 4 Vedas by combining Patya, the words of Rigveda, Abhinay, the communicative elements of the body movements of Samaveda, and Rasa, the vital sentiments and emotional elements from Atharva Veda. Brahma handed Natya Veda to Bharat Muni to spread in the world. Bharata guided the Gandharvas and Apsaras to perform Natya, Nritta and Nritya before Shiva. Bharata, along with the Apsaras and Gandharva, performed for Shiva, who asked Tandu to develop further into Tandava, which Shiva himself performed. Shiva imparted the style of performing Lasya to Parvati, who taught Lasya to Usha, the daughter of Banasur. Usha passed it on to the gopis or Dwaraka, who then taught the women of Saurashtra. The interpretation of the mythological story has different variations. However, this art is believed to have been performed by the gods and goddesses and passed on to humans, and hence attributing a spiritual touch. Historical background shows that over the centuries people thought the spiritual art should be performed only for the gods. It could also enhance the arts to a spiritual status. Performing in the temples and festivals in front of the gods became a practice. For this purpose, the girls were dedicated to the temples. These girls were called Devadasis, whose prime duty was to sing and dance and carry on all the duties required for the god before the gods during daily pujas and on festivals and on daily routine. They were given land and money for their livelihood. These girls were taught all the rudiment of dance and music and Tamil literature by the family members. Along with the girls, the boys in the family also learned the art and became the Natuvnar, musicians, instrumentalists, and some, maybe very few, performing artists. Some of these artists got attached to the royal courts and became Rajadasis. All these dancers devoted their entire life to the art. It was their profession. There was no fixed time during the learning hours. There was no fixed adavu pattern. Depending on the disciple's capacity and interest, the teacher taught the adavus, thirmanams and song. Every day the learning lessons included the Natuvnar, who was also singing the songs, Mridangam player and the Veena player. But here the dancers belonged to the same family as the teachers. It was very seldom and random that a person not belonging to this family or the group of people would come and study dance. It only started in the later years in 1930s. New songs were composed and improvised on the spot of the practice sessions, which were performed on the same evening in the court or temple. Such was the immense knowledge and talent of the artist. During the Nayaka period in Tamil Nadu, the indigenous art forms underwent a process of elaboration and were presented with new names. Sangita Darpanam is a literary work which mentions about the repertoire of a dance performance, which consisted of 12 items like Mukachali, Yati Nritya, Shabdachali, Udupu, Dhruva, Sauda, Sauda Shabda, Kavada, Geeta, Chintu, Desi Kattari, Vaipota and Shabda Nritta. In the following centuries, some of these items became obsolete and some were added. The text Sangeeta Muktavali by Devanacharya lists new items like Drupada, Shuddha Geeta Pushpanjali, Raganga Yati Nritta, Shuddha Yati Nritta, Shabda Nritya, Deva Nritta, Rupa Nritta, Geeta Prabandhas and Darus. During the Maratha period, these items were replaced by new items like Jakkini, Helapadam, Shubhalila, Padakelika, Dhutyapadam, Adhyatma, Helapadam, Niti Padalu, Velachu, Vandukollu, Gopika Geetam, Dandakam, Vilvedu, Gujjari, Sriranga Padam and a Kuravanji. The artist also modified and added new items in the Margam according to the need of the Rasikas. Adavus are the main basic dance units which were developed with rhythm and music into a dance item. The Sanskrit work Sangeeta Saramrita by King Tulaja refers to the Adavus. The names of the Adavus are given in Sanskrit, Tamil and Telugu with their descriptions and relevant Sholukattus. King Tulaja in his work describes 18 varieties of Adavus prevalent during his time. Tanjore Quartet, Chinnaya, Ponnaya, Shivanand and Vadivelu were in the court of Sarfoji too and are called the architects of the present day Bharatanatyam repertoire. They systematized the Adavus. Adavus are the basic foundation of Bharatanatyam, which is also a major factor influencing the style and quality of the dance. By then, 25 varieties of Adavus mentioned in the text became obsolete. The Adavu structure categorized by Tanjore Quartet has 10 groups with 12 individual variations totaling to 120 Adavus. They are Tattadavu, Natadavu, Goditta Adavu, Jati Adavu, Tattu Mettu Adavu, Mai Adavu, Iruddhi Adavu, Mettu Adavu, Nadai Adavu and Mudittu Adavu. The repertoire formatted by the Tanjore Quartet is called the Margam. This art was passed on to the generation within the family members. Each family developed a distinct style in the performance of dance, music, choreography and presentation. This tradition continued till the beginning of the 20th century. The decline of the Devadasis system affected the continuity of this art at its fullest. Without proper patronage, many men shifted to other jobs like farming and such. And the ladies stopped dancing. The Devadasi system was looked down by the society and had a bad reputation. The dance programs became a taboo in the society. Without patronage, the artists suffered. In general, the girls in the society, other than the Devadasis, were oppressed and were not given freedom to even learn basic education. Learning fine arts was beyond their reach. Hence, Devadasis could not teach you any girl from the general household. Fine arts were never accepted as a hobby. Very few Devadasis and Natuvnars could retain their art and kept it within the family members. The period till the Sadir was revived as Bharatanatyam, it was the darkest period in the history of dance. In the beginning of 20th century, many girls from reputed families came forward to learn this art, not just for hobby but to preserve the dying art. Very good and noted among them are Srimati Rukmini Devi Arundel, the prime one to come and start. Mrinalini Sarabhai followed. Both of them hailed from a well-educated and orthodox Brahmin families and still were allowed to learn this art. At different point of time, they learned from the same teacher, Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai, and later established institutions to preserve this art. There was not enough patronage extended for the Natuvnars. India was turmoil with the freedom fight against the British. All fine arts were at a low ebb. Hence, the families of the Natuvnars came down to Madras, that is Chennai, in 1930s and established dance academies in different parts of the city. They taught and choreographed in distinct styles which came to be known as the Bani or the Paddhati. The name of the villages were affixed with the Bani. For example, Pandanallur Bani, Tanjavur Bani, Vaduvur Bani, Kanchipuram Bani and such. The basic dance lessons were the same except for the style of dancing and presentation of the program. Now we will try to look at briefly how each Bani provided education teaching. Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai was a descendant of Tanjore Quartet. He adhered to the strict methodology formatted by the Tanjore Quartet. He was taught this art by his uncle Kumaraswamy Natuvnar. The Jatishwaram, Shabdams and Varnams taught were choreographed by his ancestors. He imparted the knowledge to many students and some of them have made it a mark for themselves and the art in the national and international scenario. Some of the temple dancers like Pandanallur Jayalakshmi, Thangachi Ammal, Sabaranjitam were his students. Rukmini Devi Arundel, Mrinalini Sarabhai, Ram Gopal, T.K.S. Swaminathan Pillai, Tara Chaudhary were his students who continued teaching this art at different places in India. He passed on this art to his son-in-law Chokalingam Pillai. He followed the same methodology like his guru. The Shollukattus and Tirmanams were the same in Varnams. The varieties were shown in the other items like Jatishwaram, Padam, Tillana. The format of Margam was strictly followed. He later moved to Chennai from his village. Chokalingam Pillai and his disciples were Mambalam Geeta, G. Kausalya, Indrani Rahman, Sucharita, to name a few. Subbaraya Pillai, the son of Chokalingam Pillai, had the opportunity to learn this art form both from his father and grandfather. He followed the Pandanallur Bani and taught to many students who are continuing by performing and teaching this art. Each of these Natuvnars were capable of composing the Sholakattus and Tirmanams to rare talas. They incorporated in dance items according to the ability of the dancer and expectations of the rasikas. He trained leading dancers like Alarmelvalli, Meenakshi Chittaranjan. Presently, his granddaughter Vanitha Rajshekhar is spreading this art to many students. Ramaya Pillai hailed from the village called Vaduvur in Tanjavur district. He came to Chennai to teach Bharatanatyam. His approach to teaching was very practical and suiting to the times. He concentrated on the graceful movements and the preservation of korvais with melodic recitation of sholakatus. This style came to be known as Vaduvur Bani. He was also invited to choreograph dance in the movies. His foremost disciple was Kamala Lakshman, who made this art form popular in India and abroad. He went to the students' houses to take special classes for them. Some students came to his house to learn. He had a number of students who later on became famous dancers and dance teachers. He taught students in the group as well as solo. He explained to the students the sahitya for each song and himself acted the bhava for the song. He sang and recited the jatis during the teaching sessions. Teaching of the jati korvais and the sanchari bhavas varied from each student according to their capacity. He also passed on the tradition to his sons. His son Samaraja was an equally talented teacher like the father. Presently, the Vaduvur Bani has been taught by many of his students and his family members. Natuvnar started his career as a teacher in Kanchipuram. He was a perfectionist and would teach a single adavu to the students even for a couple of months till they perfected it. He was keen that the students know Tamil and understand the lyrics of the song they performed. He would insist the students to utter the jatis with proper intonation and appropriate stress on the sound of the words Vallinam and Mallinam. He encouraged the students to watch as many dance performances of luminary dancers to gain knowledge and inspiration. This style was called Kanchipuram. Around Kanchipuram, there are several temples with beautiful and artistic sculptures. This inspired Allappa to incorporate sculptural poses in the dance items. His 8 students are Udupi Lakshmi Narayan and Lakshmi Vishwanathan. And students of these teachers continue this style of dance by teaching and performing. Tanjai Arunachal Pillai and his wife Jayalakshmi started a dance school in Mylapore called Sri Shanmugananda Bharatanatyam Palli. Their teaching style was called Tanjavur style. They followed the margam set by Tanjore Quartet. Their method of teaching was very special. Let me try to explain here. In this method, the footstep is firmly beaten on the ground and in the Araimandi position. The feet is slightly towards the front like in the V shape. They insist on Angashuddham, correct angles while dancing. The students are encouraged to enjoy the dancing. All adavus should first start from the right side. This is what they teach. The usi, missing fraction of the beat, ta, tai, tai, ta, is done as nata adavu. Tattimettu is done by stamping both legs before lifting the heel. Students are encouraged to watch the senior students' class and observe. While Nritta or Abhinaya, the line of song is first danced on the right and then repeated on the left with single hand and then double hand. The Natyarambam posture is full stretch of the hand. Natyarambha and Araimandi is prescribed as per the physical attributes of the student. Abhinaya is not very intense. Movements flow gracefully into one another. In earlier times, Bharatanatyam was learnt from the Natuvnars in Gurukul. The Natuvnars taught the art to the students individually. The Gurus took into consideration the capability and style of each student and taught them accordingly. There was no time frame for classes. The students stayed in class till they were asked to leave by the Guru. The names of the hastas were taught in Tamil. The history of the art was not taught. It was more of a performing art. The Gurus, after teaching the basic steps for Adavus, taught small korvais, which were a combination of Adavus. These korvais helped them to perform the Jatishwaram and Tillana later. Alaripu in different nadai were taught starting from Tisra Alaripu. After this followed the Kautvam, Jatishwaram, Shabdam. The Varnams were predominantly Shringar Rasa, based on the compositions of Tanjore quartet. So, irrespective of the age, these Varnams were taught. In the beginning of the 20th century, the Sadir was re-christened as Bharatanatyam. Girls from the respectable families like Rukmini Devi and Mrinalini Sarabhai learned this art and established academies and gave different dimension to this art. But as one can see, the people who went to study with the Gurus and in the Gurukulams, as we are saying, were only the ones who were employed and who worked in the temple and as Devadasis. There were almost nobody from outside the family traditions who learnt Bharatanatyam before 1930s or early 1900. Rukmini Devi established Kalakshetra to impart knowledge of the fine arts to interested students. The students were taught the art of a curriculum. They learned music, dance, instruments, language and yoga. The Adavus were formatted and taught with perfection. The student has to undergo training methodically into all the subjects for 7 years to get a diploma. Rukmini Devi invited eminent gurus in Bharatanatyam, Kathakali and music to teach in the institution, irrespective of their Bani. Rukmini Devi herself choreographed many dance items and dance dramas. She took Bharatanatyam to the international stage. Her choreographies are taught and performed till the present day. The solo items taught will be of a uniform nature, which is not altered by the teachers or students. Hence, this type of learning dance has come to be known as Kalakshetra school or Bani. The students also follow the same pattern of teaching to their students. There are hundreds of teachers and students who follow the Kalakshetra style of dance. Presently, the government has taken over the academy and offers graduation and post-graduation diploma in dance and music. K.N. Dandayudhapani Pillai joined Kalakshetra as a dance teacher and later individually established a dance school named Natya Kalalaya in Chennai. He has taught many students and also choreographed for films. He taught the traditional format of Adavus and Tirvanams. He employed his experienced senior students to teach the Adavus to the young ones and defined by them. The 13th set of Adavus were taught systematically for the duration of 1 year. He believed that the Shringara Padams and the Varnams were too difficult for young ones to understand and perform. He believed Bhakti Rasa was easy for children to understand. Hence, he composed Padavarnams, Kirtanams and Padam with Bhakti Rasa exclusively for children, which became very popular. For example, the Padavarnam Annayai Maravenandi, presently his daughter Uma Dandayudhapani and many of his students continue teaching his style of Bharatanatyam. Mannagudi Dorairaj Iyer was an eminent dance teacher, well versed in playing Mridangam and Tal system. He composed Tirvanams in difficult talas for his junior students to perform. He also taught Perani Natyam to some of his trained students. Perani Natyam is to be danced on a clay pot. He was a very rare in those days for a Brahmin boy to teach and perform dance. He also wrote 2 books named Mridanga Bodhini and Swabodha Bharata Navanitam. Presently, Revati Ramachandran, M.S. Kanchana and Gauri are the students of Dorairaj Iyer, continuing teaching on their Guru's path. As we are looking into different styles, Bani-s and how they teach, The Mysore style of dance started during the reign of Vodaya dynasty in Mysore. And there was a resurgence of all art forms, and a distinct style of Bharatanatyam emerged during the time of Krishna Raja Wadiyar. This came to be known as the Mysore school or style or Bani of Bharatanatyam. His successor, Sri Chamarajendra Wadiyar, brought Chinnaya of the Tanjore quartet, whose work influenced dance and music in Mysore. Many illustrious teachers, Murugu Shubhanna, Bangalore Kittappa, Kolar Puttappa, and Devadasis like Rangamma and Jijamma, and Rajanartakis, the palace dancers like Amritamma, the incomparable Natya Saraswati Jati Tayyamma of the Jati Manithana, the Wrestlers family, and her disciple Natya Shantala, Padma Bhushan Dr. K. Venkatalakshamma, hailing from the Bani-s gypsy community, gave this style a distinct flavor. Gurukula in the Mysore system was Venkatalakshamma learned the art in the Gurukula of Jati Tayyamma. The practice schedule for the student was a student would wake up by 4:30 a.m. and ready in the class by 5 a.m. 1 hour of physical exercises, which had rare ones like lifting tur dal with the eyelashes. After a short break, with the Dhyana Shloka, Adavu's classes began. Nritta items were performed. After 3 p.m., there would be Abhinay classes. Tattadavu in Aditalam was taught for a month. This was followed by Adavus like Nattadavu, Kattadavu, Mettudavu, Pakkadavu, Kudittamettu Adavu, Muktai Adavu. The Adavus were not taught in any particular precise order, and the names of the Adavus were also not mentioned to the students. The Alaripu was first taught in Chatusram. After teaching Jatiswaram and Kirtanams, Atana Varnam was taught. There were no Jatis and Tattimettu introduced in the first half of the Varnam. There was not much of theory taught except the Sanyukta and Asanyukta Hastas. It was compulsory for the student to learn the music. After the completion of the 4th year, the students perform Shalangai Puja and then on start practicing with them. 2 important works named Natanadi Vadya Ranjanam and Sabharanjita Chintamani by Gange Muttu Natuvanar contains number of Sholukatus and Tirmanams for dance and Mridangam. The art flourished in Tamil Nadu with several Natuvanars with a common structural pattern of Adavus. The creative and artistic imagination of the Natuvanars introduced graceful elements into dance. There was no one standard work on Adavus. Hence, the way of teaching, classifying and performing Adavus have been different in many ways. In a way, this has helped to bring out various paddhatis and still has ample scope for improvisation. The difference in style depend upon the general outlook and the aspect of specialization. For example, one school emphasis on complicated rhythm patterns and so on, another on soft and graceful movements. Interested students, whether learned from a Natunar or an institution, was serious about learning and absorbing all nuances from their gurus and took it to a professional level. They realized that it was their responsibility to bring back this divine art and spread it to as many students as possible. In the paper, in the next discussion of learning Bharatanatyam, we will see how the methodology adopted today as compared to the earlier generations have changed in a great way to suit the requirements of the Rasika as well as the student. Hope you have got some insight into the teaching methodologies of different Banis and the importance that was given to which part of Bharatanatyam. Thank you and see you tomorrow. Bye.